You've decided it's time to get some financial advice, possibly for the first time. Perhaps circumstances have changed, or maybe you're frustrated by the conflicting information on the internet and you want a sense check. Whatever the reason, whether in person or via a video call, you're now face-to-face with a financial advisor. What happens next? A meeting with a new financial advisor tends to follow a process. The conversation might start with the advisor asking, "What brings you here today?" Or, "What advice do you need?" Or, you might lead by saying you want advice in a specific area, like pensions or investments. This initial exchange generally establishes the direction of the conversation, which isn't always a good thing. Many advisors will start with a fact-finding questionnaire, which, aside from things like name, address, and date of birth, asks about your existing savings, investments, and pensions. This is important information which ensures your advisor has the right facts to make appropriate recommendations. What tends to happen, however, is that the fact find simply acts as a gap find. For example, by identifying whether you have any ISA or pension allowances remaining. Some advisors are only paid when you invest in financial products, like pensions or ISAs, and are looking to see which ones you will buy. And if the timing and amount they are paid is tied to the financial products you buy, the incentive is to get through that process as quickly as possible. An advice process that simply identifies a desire or a problem today, which is then gap-filled, might fix that desire or problem, but it doesn't necessarily lead to the best long-term outcomes. If there isn't an overarching strategy or goal that the advice sits under, when economic conditions turn bad, which they will, you're more likely to change direction, which could lead to poorer long-term outcomes. Put another way, in times of economic woe, if you don't know how each of those financial products is working towards your long-term security, you might be tempted to switch to something else, possibly at a loss. In the absence of something better, solving a current problem or desire seems logical. But our financial situation is something that has long-term consequences. The difficulty is we're not really wired to think long-term. The human brain and our mental capacity hasn't really evolved beyond the hunter-gatherer stage. The next 3 to 5 years is about as much as we care to think about. Yet some of the financial choices we make today will have a significant impact on our financial well-being long into the future. At some level, we probably understand that, but don't really know how to approach it. The questions people are really asking are, if I do this, am I going to be okay? Or, what do I need to do to be secure? But instead, we ask for investment advice or pensions advice, or we seek the next hot investment tip. Of course, there will often be an immediate question about things like pension limits and tax year-end actions. But the real worth of working with a planner is to discover what financial independence looks like for you and how to achieve it. Once we've dealt with any time-sensitive or immediate questions, the rest of our work should be focused on the longer-term view and achieving financial independence. Instead of just gathering the facts, we help you identify your vision and your values. For many people, this can be difficult because they've not been asked to quantify things that far into the future. But we don't need precision at this stage, more a broad target to aim for. The vision might be to maintain a particular standard of living throughout your lifetime, or attain financial independence so you can choose to continue working or otherwise. Everybody is different. Your values might be to do with how you invest your money, or to ensure you leave a legacy, or a desire to help others through gifts or charitable giving. Our skill as financial planners is to take that information and turn it into a number, representing the amount of savings, investments, and pensions you need to achieve financial independence. This may coincide with your normal retirement date, but doesn't have to. It's rare to meet someone who has all this figured out. Often it takes a few years to be clear about what it all needs to look like. So it's important that once you've placed a stake in the ground, the financial planning is flexible enough to adapt to changes in the future. To help us plan, we're going to create a timeline from where you are now until your death. And for planning purposes, we usually set this at age 100, so we don't underestimate and you end up running out of money before you run out of life. Somewhere along that line is when you want to be financially independent and free to choose what you want to do, such as carry on working or travelling or going back to university. The real benefit of the fact find is that it tells us what you've managed to accumulate along your journey toward financial independence. It also provides information about expected inflows and outflows along the way and any important milestones to be aware of. There may also be a discussion about your expectations for your money post-financial independence day. Do you want it to grow, remain level, or gradually decline? This obviously has an impact on how big your number is, as well as the amount of income that could be drawn down from your assets. In a perfect world, that line from now to financial independence will show you attaining your number. But the reality is that most people fall short. Without this cash flow modelling, people don't really know whether they're on track or how far off track they are. Sometimes it's because they don't know what they're aiming for, but often because it seems complicated, or they've been burying their head in the sand to avoid making tough decisions about money. Almost everyone we've done this for has said the financial planning process has been the most enlightening financial advice they've ever received. For the first time, they've seen what is likely to happen if they carry on doing what they're currently doing. It's also very powerful because it finally allows people to take control and not have to follow the financial advisor's agenda. When you have control, you can see what would happen if you exposed your investments to more risk. How far does it move the dotted line? What would be the impact of increasing the amount you saved? How about changing the date you want to be financially independent? Or made more use of pensions and ISAs for the tax breaks? When you're in control of a tool that shows the long-term impact of decisions made today, you get to decide whether to take more investment risk or to tie money up for longer. Now you can begin to make choices informed by your long-term vision rather than gaps in your portfolio. When the economic situation wobbles or your personal situation changes, and they will, you know how each financial product, whether an insurance plan, pension, ISA or investment fund, supports your long-term vision. With a financial plan, the selection of financial products becomes straightforward as you execute things as efficiently and low cost as possible. The real value of our work is in the financial planning, not the sale of financial products. Therefore, the bulk of our charges cover the time it takes to prepare and present your plan, rather than a percentage of your money.